Deadhead Fred is set in 1940s fictional noir New Jersey. You play as the reanimated Private Dick Fred Newman, murdered by one Ulysses Pitt. You have to solve the mystery of your death and the case you took before you were murdered. Along the way, you meet people from Fred's past like his lover, Jeannie Rossini, whose missing father, Vinnie Rossini, you were searching for and led to your death. You also meet Fred's old business partner and alcoholic, Benny Salazar. The big bad of the town, Ulysses Pitt, and his right-hand man, Lefty, along with countless others who help you or stand in your way. Each of them being weird in their own way. Everybody in this place is weird. Outside of the smooth 1940s private detective zombie setting, the story is something we've seen before, and a lot of times before. It's a revenge story. Make the person that hurt you and your family pay. The dialogue and the way it's written, though, and delivered, really makes you fall in love with this game. Although there was a sequel talked about and hinted, it never came to be, unfortunately. But at least we get to enjoy this game in its full form. There are some pretty amazing voices lent here, like Fred, who's played by John C. McGinley, Ulysses Pitt, played by the late John Polito, and Jeannie Rossini, played by Kari Wahlgren, who also plays Kitana in Mortal Kombat 11, and Kagami Hiragi in one of my favorite animes, Lucky Star. Seriously, go look through her credits, they're amazing. What hasn't she been in? In the wiki, it is said that due to the studio's location on the East Coast and the difference from the actors, most of them who were working on the West Coast at the time in Hollywood, a lot of the voice acting was done over the phone in a studio in Hollywood. Considering the amount of dialogue that had to be recorded and the fact that Fred alone has over 1,000 lines, I have to say I am super impressed with both the actors and the voice directors in this whole production. Music-wise, the sound is like a very retro, futuristic, like Destroy All Humans or Stub the Zombies, which is another good forgotten game in my opinion. The music just fits perfectly with the game, and it's just a beautiful blend with the voice acting. Graphics-wise, I have to say I am impressed while playing this on the emulator. It looks great on my monitors instead of a small like PSP screen. The game itself is bigger than I expected, with 8 locations. Each has its own feel, from the Freak Farms to Zombie Town to Downtown and Creepy Hollow. All the characters are all crafted with love and differently, and they all fit into the game, and they're all weird in their own way. From El Cosmo, who feels like she belongs in Death Becomes Her, to Dr. Steiner, your ally and resident mad scientist. Screen to screen, it all looks different, and the only place you could say that everything kind of looks the same is the Freak Farms, but that's for a reason, and even there's still variety. It's just a visually gritty, cartoon yet adult game. There's obviously a lot of love and care that went into this game. So gameplay is fairly standard. You know, you would see it in a lot of games like this, not just because it's a handheld game, but just the type of adventure game it is. You have light and heavy combat with specials that also have light and heavy attacks within them. The standout about this game, and what really drew me to it, was the head swapping mechanic. You have 9 heads to choose from. Each can be used for different enemies in different areas, like your stone head, which is used to break walls, charge enemies, and defeat stronger enemies, or your mutant head, which allows you to walk through radiated areas. Each head has different attack animations, different run animations, different specials, and unique abilities. Each character, or each enemy I should say, has a counter head that you can use to turn their powered attacks, because once they keep attacking you, they build up this charged attack. You can use that specific head, their counter head, to reverse it on them and use a QTE to kill them. There's really not much to say about the combat. It's button pressing, button mashing sometimes. It's standard. It's got QTEs in it. It's gory. Not Mortal Kombat gory, but gory enough. You do have a 10th head though, but it is a shrinking head, and unlike the other heads, you can only put it on in certain areas when you're prompted to. The other heads you can swap any single time you wish to. These you cannot. It does have some platforming sections that do mix things up here and there, but it's not overly fantastic. Animation and look-wise, it feels like you don't have a lot of momentum to complete the jumps, but you do, sometimes. Fred, it looks a lot more like he's jumping up instead of forward a lot of the time, so I was often very confused and a little like, ooh, you know, when you get that, ooh, I don't know if I'm gonna make it kind of thing. There's also a lot of side quests you can pick up from just about anyone, from random people on the street to main character NPCs you're gonna talk to. Some are headlocked, and by that I mean you can't finish them until you have certain heads, like the mutant head, which you get at the very last section of the game. It helps with some side quests that you can unlock at the very beginning of the game. It's a small gripe, but I just don't like having missions sit in my notebook when I would rather just get that notebook clear and done, but that's just me. You can also stop for a bit and take some time off to play some pool or some pinball. That honestly doesn't feel too bad. The pinball is a little floaty, the pool is a little floaty, but you're not going to spend most of your time doing that anyway. There's various pool halls and dirty bars, I guess they're called, around the maps, because there is 8 areas. You can also, if you wish, you can enter cockfights with your own roosters, or you can bet on somebody else's roosters, and you can go fishing. You can wrangle some worms. You can also do a few other mini games and activities. Now, what is my verdict on this retrospective into Deadhead Fred? Overall, it was a fun game to play. Although it was very tough at times and seemingly unfair at others, it was just a fun run through, and the whole package worked and was smooth throughout. Although I did have a little bit, I don't know if it was just playing this game or just gaming too much in general, but it was a struggle to pick this back up and play it sometimes. I'm glad I was playing on an emulator for the save states, although I usually don't use save states because, well, they can corrupt your regular save files and they can do some weird things in the emulator. I did use some save states here just for the platforming and some of the boss fights. Seriously, the first boss fight with Lefty, I ran through all my health items, and without a previous save state before the fight, I would have probably gotten stuck there. The save state allowed me to go back, go get some more health items, and just blast through. I know that's a lot of people don't like emulators and save states, but to each their own, I guess. Even with some of the minor gripes I had, this game was a good time. It took longer than I thought. It took me 22 hours and 30 minutes, not including finishing all the side missions because I just didn't. I wasn't going to go back at that point. I definitely want to get my hands on a physical copy of this, though, and they aren't too hard to find. They're all over eBay. I can see why this game, though, is reaching cult classic status. It's underrated and underplayed gem of the PSP era.